Hello everyone, today I will continue sharing with you the story of the single mother, Hoai. I hope you enjoy the video. That morning, the weather turned cold, and the early wind slipped through the cracks of the door with a chilly whisper. Hoai put on a thin coat while checking Tony's small backpack one more time, a milk box, tissues, and the thick jacket she had washed and dried the night before. The little boy rubbed his eyes, still half asleep, but the moment he heard his mother say, "Go to school and when you come home, Mommy will give you a fresh warm cake," Tony immediately sat up and nodded like a tiny bird. After dropping him off at school, Hoai returned home to pick up the tray of cakes she had baked before dawn. The weather was getting colder, making her feel even more protective of her son. Tony was growing so fast that his clothes were starting to look short. She thought to herself, if I sell well today, I'll buy him a few warm outfits. That thought alone gave her more motivation. She placed the tray neatly into her bicycle basket and headed to the market, silently hoping the weather would be kind enough for her to sell out. Lately, thanks to Tiểu San's guidance, her skills had improved, the cakes were more fragrant, and regular customers began asking, "Do you have Hoai's cakes today?" Back at home, Hùng woke up after hearing the soft click of the door earlier. Stretching slightly, he walked to the kitchen and found a breakfast of an egg sandwich and a small thermos of warm ginger tea waiting on the table. Beside it was a little note, written carefully in Hoai's handwriting. "Remember to have breakfast. I'm bringing the cakes to the market. I'll come home early at noon to pick up Tony. See?" Hùng let out a soft smile, a warm feeling spreading through him. He had grown used to her thoughtfulness, yet every tiny thing she left behind always softened his heart. He brushed his fingers lightly across the note as if it were a precious gift, then folded it carefully and tucked it into his wallet. "This girl, always thinking about others first," he murmured, eyes gentle. While eating breakfast, he imagined Hoai at the bustling market, her hands cold from the morning wind but still offering customers her warm, bright smile. The thought made him stand up, put on his jacket, and decide to stop by the market. Not to help her sell, he knew Hoai valued her independence, just to stand from a distance and make sure the woman he loved wasn't facing the early winter chill alone. And maybe, buy a little something warm for her and Tony. He smiled, feeling a quiet peace settle inside him. When he finished eating, he rolled up his sleeves and stepped into the yard. The chilly seasonal wind made the makeshift covers at the front porch rattle, and small gaps in the window frames allowed cold air to seep in. The house felt colder than usual. Standing in the middle of the yard and observing everything, he nodded. "No way. I can't let Ca and Tony freeze like this." He took out his tools and began fixing things one by one. He adjusted the loose door padding, replaced the worn rubber strip, and nailed a few wooden slats to block the wind beside the kitchen wall. As he worked, he occasionally paused, imagining Hoai and Tony standing shivering under the porch, and thought, "No. Ca has struggled enough her whole life. From now on, let me take care of them." That thought, part responsibility, part love, made his movements quicker and more precise. The garden wasn't doing well either after several rainy days. The soil was damp, and a few pots had toppled over. Hùng carefully stood them back up, wiped the wet leaves, and trimmed the dried twigs. When he lifted the small pot of white daisies that Hoai had arranged the other day, he couldn't help but smile. Her birthday is coming soon. How do I surprise her? He was never good at romantic gestures, but whenever it came to her, he wanted to do something beautiful. Not extravagant, just something that would make her smile. Standing in the yard, he looked at the newly patched roof and the neatly arranged porch and imagined a quiet evening, warm golden lights. A birthday cake made exactly the way she likes. Tony running up to hug his mother. And himself, standing there, giving her the gift he had been preparing for so long. The thought warmed his chest in the most unfamiliar but beautiful way. The wind kept getting colder, but something in him burned warmly. He picked up a few fallen leaves, thinking, "This birthday, she has to be touched. Hoai deserves happiness." Then he glanced toward the road leading to the market. He wondered how many cakes she had sold by now. whether she was cold, whether anyone had upset or wearied her. Wiping his hands on his pants, he murmured, "Once I finish here, I'll go check on her. But I'll stand far away, otherwise she'll say I worry too much." He chuckled softly. The kind of laugh he only had when thinking about her. After finishing the yard work and sealing all the drafty spots, Hung leaned against the railing for a long moment. The cold wind brushed against his face, but strangely, his heart felt warm. Hoai's birthday. She had never asked for anything for herself. Last year, on her birthday, she only ate a bowl of instant noodles and put Tony to bed early because no one remembered. Thinking about that made the hand holding his cleaning cloth tighten slightly. This year has to be different. She deserves more. He pulled out his phone, opened his notes app, and began jotting down a basic plan: location, time, things to prepare. Then he paused. To make that day warm and perfect, two people immediately came to mind, people Hoai cherished, and also the two closest to him. Tiểu San, his beloved younger sister. Hoai, San's boyfriend. With them there, the birthday outing would feel complete, and Hoai would be deeply touched. At noon, after stopping by the market to watch Hoai from afar, her small hands rubbing together for warmth, still smiling brightly at every customer, Hung returned home. He pulled out his phone and messaged Hoai. "If you're free this afternoon, drop by. Bring San too." Hoai replied almost instantly. "Okay, we'll come." By early evening, while Hoai was busy picking up Tony, Hoai and Tiểu San had already arrived in the yard. As soon as San stepped in, she exclaimed, Hoai called us over so urgently, what secret mission is this?" Hoai laughed, tilting his head. "Just looking at his serious face, you know it's something big." Hung pulled the two of them into the living room, closed the door, and lowered his voice as if afraid someone might overhear. "I need your help with something. Hoai's birthday is coming up." Tiểu San's eyes lit up instantly. "Oh my gosh. She's so sweet, we definitely have to throw her a fun celebration. You want us to help, right?" Hung nodded gently. For the first time, a hint of shy sincerity showed clearly on his face. He laid a small sheet of paper on the table. Location: the grassy hill near the forest edge, quiet, beautiful, and open. Bring snacks, fruit, and some of her favorite foods. A small birthday cake, San would handle that. Simple decorations, picnic blanket, a few small lights. Time: late afternoon, after she finishes selling. Tiểu San clapped her hands. "Easy. I'll take care of the cake. I know she loves soft matcha cakes." Hoai folded his arms, grinning at Hung. "We'll handle the rest." "And you, Hoai?" He tried not to laugh. "Better practice your birthday message ahead of time. If you freeze up, you'll lose points." Tiểu San burst out laughing. "If Hoai blushes, it'll be hilarious." Hung chuckled and shook his head, but the gratitude in his eyes was unmistakable. "Thank you, both of you. I just want CA to have a truly happy day, that's all." Tiểu San softened, looking at her brother. "With how much you care about her, she'll surely be happy." That evening, when Hoai brought Tony home and started preparing dinner, Hung stood in the yard, staring at the soft glow of the kitchen lights shining through the window. He imagined her covering her mouth in surprise when she saw the little birthday cake, Tony running to hug her, and the whole group, including San and Hoai, sitting under the trees, laughing together. Just imagining it warmed his chest. The corners of his lips curled naturally. This birthday would be one Hoai would never forget. The next morning, while Hoai was busy preparing her cakes to take to the market, Hung quietly continued planning the secret outing. He didn't let her notice anything, just silently observing her as she worked, watching her small hands spread butter smoothly on each cake before placing it gently into its box. Every little gesture made him feel even more protective. As soon as she left the house, he called Tiểu San. "San, are you and Hoai free today? I need you to come over." San responded immediately. "Yes. We'll be there right away." 30 minutes later, she walked in with a bag of food, while Hai carried a big bag of picnic supplies. San cheerfully rushed into the kitchen. On Hai, I think we should prep the food a day early. Tomorrow we just bring everything along. Hai leaned by the door, teasing. You're preparing like it's a wedding feast instead of a birthday. Hung shot him a side eye but couldn't hide the smile tugging at his lips. Quit it. Just stick to the plan. Seeing her brother so serious yet obviously excited made Tieu San chuckle. A knowing, affectionate laugh. In the kitchen, the three of them worked together. Tieu San shaped cookies and made extra treats that Hoai liked. Hai washed and cut fruits into neat boxes. Hung checked all the supplies: picnic blanket, small speaker, mini string lights, matches, windbreak sheet. But the most important part was the birthday gift he had chosen for Hoai. Inside a small box lay a delicate silver bracelet engraved with the words peace within. Not diamonds or luxury gold. Just something that matched who she truly was: gentle, sincere, and quiet. When Tieu San saw him holding the box, she teased. On Hai, with such a pretty gift, why not give her a ring while you're at it? Hung pretended to be stern. Don't talk nonsense. One step at a time. But the redness in his ears gave him away. Hai crossed his arms, laughing. See? I told you. This guy is serious about her. Hung didn't respond, he just bent down to tie a rope tighter, but the small smile at the corner of his lips said everything. That afternoon, when Hoai returned from the market, she found the house spotless, no fallen leaves in the yard, the kitchen tidy and warm. She blinked in confusion. Huh. I swear I didn't clean this morning. Hung, pretending to be casual, replied from the kitchen. I was free, so I cleaned a bit. She felt touched, not knowing that behind that calm expression was an entire plan of affection waiting just for her. Tony ran over and hugged her leg, his tiny voice chirping. Mommy, tomorrow Uncle Hung is taking us out. Hung jolted, almost dropping the pot lid. From behind the kitchen door, Tieu San peeked out and quickly signaled Tony to shush, but it was too late. Hoai widened her eyes. We're going out tomorrow? Hung scratched his head, his face slightly red but still trying to remain normal. Yeah. I'll take you two on a little outing. The weather's getting cold, so it'll be nice. Hoai smiled, a gentle smile, soft like the late afternoon breeze. Okay, that sounds nice. She still didn't know the biggest surprise was yet to come. The next morning, as the sun had just begun to shine, the crisp chill of early winter made everything feel clearer and fresher. Hoai was preparing breakfast when Hung stepped out of his room, helped Tony into a windbreaker, and gently said, Let's head out early after we eat, okay? The road to the grassy hill is a bit far. Hoai was surprised but still nodded. She had never really gone on a proper picnic before, so her heart was both nervous and excited. As for Tony, there was nothing to say, he was so thrilled that he finished his breakfast faster than usual. On the way there, the cool breeze flowed past them as Hoai held Tony sitting behind Hung on the bike. She looked at the scenery on both sides of the road and couldn't stop smiling. Do you come here often? She asked. Hung replied, his voice low and warm. No. But I thought, that place would suit you. Hoai looked at his broad back, and her heart softened. Ever since meeting him, she finally understood what it felt like to be cared for in every little detail. Up ahead, Hung rode slower than usual, afraid the cold wind would sting her face. From time to time, he would ask, Are you cold? Are you uncomfortable sitting like that? All she could do was shake her head and reply softly. No. With you and Tony here, it's warm enough. At that, the corners of Hung's lips lifted slightly, but he stayed quiet so she wouldn't notice. As they got close to the grassy hill, Hoai began to sense something unusual. Normally, the place was quiet and empty, but today, from afar, she could see a few picnic blankets already spread out and people. Before she could ask, Tony shouted. Mom. I see Auntie San and Uncle Hai. Hai ca startled. Huh? San. Hi. Hung pretended to be surprised. Oh? Maybe they just happened to come out here to take photos. But there was a secretive glint in his eyes. When they stopped the bike, Tiểu San ran over first. Ca. I've been waiting for you since morning. Hai ca grew even more confused. You too, what a coincidence. Carrying a basket of fruit, Hai walked up behind her with a small smile. Not a coincidence at all. We snuck out to follow you. San elbowed him. What are you saying? Then she threw her arms around Hai ca in a tight hug. In the middle of the wide meadow, with the gentle breeze and the fresh open air, Hai ca felt her heart grow light. She didn't know why, but it felt like today was going to be very special. The picnic began, and everything was almost too beautiful. A large, light beige picnic blanket. A basket of fresh fruit. Boxes of food that San had prepared early in the morning. Small strings of lights hidden in the basket, waiting for sunset. And most of all, the way all three of them looked at Hai ca with such fondness. Tony ran around on the grass, laughing brightly. Hai laid out the food. Sam poured juice into cups. When Hai ca tried to help, Hung gently stopped her. Just sit and relax. Let me handle things today. She blushed and quietly sat down. In that moment, she felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time. The feeling of being loved inside a real family. But she still didn't know that the biggest surprise was waiting for her in the most beautiful moment of that afternoon. The afternoon drifted by peacefully. The group ate and chatted, occasionally calling out when Tony chased butterflies too far. The breeze was soft, the sky so clear that it felt like time slowed down. When the sunlight began to soften, Sam glanced at her watch and nudged Hai lightly. He gave a small nod. Hai stood up and pretended to go check on the bike, but in reality, he was switching on the strings of lights around the meadow. Tiny lights began to twinkle, blending with the orange hues of the sunset. San signaled to Hung. He took a deep breath. His heart was beating faster than usual. He turned to Hai ca. Hai ca, could you stand up for a moment? She blinked, confused. Huh? Is something wrong? He only smiled. Just stand up. Trust me. There was something in that low, steady voice that made her tremble, not from fear, but from a strange, warm sense of trust. She stood up, adjusting Tony's clothes while looking around. Just then, San walked out from behind her, holding a small birthday cake with candles glowing softly. At the same time, gentle piano music flowed out from a mini speaker that Hai had turned on, filling the space with a dreamy melody. Hai ca froze. Her eyes widened, and her hands clenched together, unsure what to do. Tony, overwhelmed with excitement, ran over and grabbed her hand. Mom. Look, your cake. It's your birthday. She turned to look at Hung. He was standing a few steps away, his gaze so soft it made her heart tighten. San beamed. Happy birthday, Ca. We've been preparing since yesterday. Hai smiled warmly. Hope you like it. We couldn't let your birthday be just instant noodles again. Hai ca flustered, her eyes beginning to glisten with tears. Gosh, what are you guys doing? I didn't tell anyone. I thought, no one remembered. San hugged her from behind. You're so sweet, there's no way we'd forget. Then she looked over at Hung and signaled. On Hai, your turn. Hung stepped closer. His steps were slow but steady, as if each one carried something very important. He stopped in front of her and looked straight into her tearful eyes. The evening breeze made her hair flutter softly, and the sunset painted them both in a warm golden light. In a gentle voice, he said, Hai ca, happy birthday. Her voice caught. Thank you, but how did you know? He smiled. I've known for a long time. But this is the first time. I wanted you to have a real birthday. He reached up and gently wiped away the tear at the corner of her eye. You've been through so much. From now on, you don't have to face things alone. Those words completely broke her defenses. Tears rolled down her cheeks. But they were tears of happiness. San giggled quietly, whispering to Hai. See? I told you. My brother really likes her. Hai nodded. It's written all over his face. Hung took a small silver box from his pocket and opened it. Inside was a delicate bracelet, shining softly in the fading light. A birthday gift for you. His voice was low, but full of affection. Hai raised her hand to her mouth, too moved to speak. As he fastened the bracelet around her wrist, he said quietly. I hope, from now on, life for you and Tony will be peaceful. I want to be the one who brings that to you. Her heart felt like it was overflowing. Tony hugged her leg tightly. Mom, don't cry anymore. Uncle Hung loves you. In that moment. On the meadow, under the dimming sky, with laughter and warm lights all around. Hai knew, deep in her heart, that she was truly loved. The evening breeze softened, and the small lights Hai had hung around the meadow grew brighter, forming a warm circle that wrapped gently around the group. The little birthday cake sat in the center of the picnic blanket, candles flickering, and Tony clung tightly to his mother's hand, refusing to let go. Hung remained beside Hai, quietly watching her, waiting for her to calm down a little. Hai took a deep breath. Then she turned toward the three of them, Hung, Tiểu San, and Hai, her eyes still shimmering as if just wiped. Can I say a few words? Her voice was small, lightly trembling, but deeply sincere. San immediately held her hand. Of course. Say whatever you want, Chia. Hai smiled, and Tony nodded rapidly. Say it, Mommy. Hai swallowed, trying to keep her voice steady. She placed a hand over her chest, inhaled again, and began. Thank you all so much. With just the first sentence, her voice had already grown hoarse. I never thought I would have a day like this. I thought my birthday would be the same as every year, just another ordinary day. She lowered her gaze to the small cake, her hands trembling helplessly. Then she lifted her head and looked at each person. San, you always think of me, love me like family. I know that. I know you understand me more than anyone. San's eyes reddened instantly, her lips pressed tight to stop herself from crying. Hi, thank you, you and San made everything so beautiful. I'm truly grateful. Hai waved his hands. Oh no, this was fun for us, Chia. And finally. She turned to the person who had stood by her, quietly worrying, quietly preparing everything, Hung. Her gaze trembled. And, you. Hung looked at her, his eyes soft like calm water. Hai's voice broke, her words barely held together. I don't even know how to say this properly. You help me, you take care of Tony, you handle every small thing in the house, even the things I don't think of. She raised a hand to her mouth, overwhelmed by emotion. I'm not used to being cared for like this. I'm scared I'm not worthy. Her voice completely cracked at that point. Hung stepped forward immediately, placing his hand on her shoulder, gentle but firm. There's no such thing as you not being worthy. His voice was low, steady, and so tender that it made it even harder for her to hold back. You've been through too much. You deserve to be loved. Do you understand? Hai shook her head slightly, not to refuse, but because she was fighting back the tears. But she failed. One tear fell. Then another. Sam caught her breath and rushed in to hug her tightly. If you cry anymore, I'll cry too. Tony hugged his mother's leg, looking up. Mommy, don't cry, today is supposed to be happy. Even Hai looked over with a warm, hidden smile. Hai wiped her tears, trying to smile even though her eyes were still wet. I'm sorry. I'm just too emotional. Hùng shook his head gently. You don't have to apologize. Then he slowly took her hand, small, trembling, and cold. Hoai, thank you for coming into my life. You don't need to thank me. I'm the lucky one. At those words, she stood still. In that moment, she knew she no longer needed to hide her feelings or pretend to be strong alone. The sunset faded completely, the lights glowed brighter, Tony's laughter echoed through the meadow, and the four of them sat together like a real little family.
Xin chào mọi người, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video hôm nay của mình. Chúc mọi người có những phút trải nghiệm câu chuyện của mình thật là vui và thú vị. Hy vọng rằng những video của mình sẽ khiến mọi người yêu thích và đặc biệt là mọi người sẽ ủng hộ kênh của mình trong thời gian sắp tới. Và cảm ơn mọi người đã lắng nghe những câu chuyện mà mình đã mang tới cho mọi người. Để mình có động lực làm video hơn thì mọi người nhớ like, share, bật chuông thông báo để nhận thông báo và cũng để nhận được video mới nhất mỗi khi xem. Và đặc biệt là để lại cho mình một nhận xét ở dưới phần bình luận để mình có động lực làm nhiều video hơn nha. Cảm ơn mọi người đã ủng hộ những video của mình. Rất hy vọng được đồng hành cùng mọi người trong thời gian sắp tới. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại mọi người video lần sau nhé.